think it's only appropriate and proper that I thank again the original stewards of this land and waters and the current stewards of this place. That includes those who put together this gathering, where people like me can actually come and tell our stories and let our stories be the point, not to be used to make someone else's point. I think there is a famous institution here. A lot of times it is even in the learning, where learning is promoted and perpetuated, that indigenous identity and dignity and ownership dies. There is such thing as formal education and non-formal, conventional and non-conventional. I'm wondering which measuring stick we use to call someone's knowledge non-formal, and therefore perpetuate such prejudice against the indigenous wisdom versus the textbook knowledge. And so I can't help but I want to say this. I had a lot on my mind coming here. I was in the first Moananui. All I said in the first Moananui that I remember is that for me, in my house, when a guest comes and asks to use my canoe, it's not up to that person when the canoe is available. So, wisdom of the elder says you don't have to decide until you must. It's the same when someone likes to infest or develop our waters and tiny lands. I'm not here to talk about the dead, even though they live on in me. I'm here to talk about hope, the remnant, and what can be done to perpetuate what's left of us, our identity, our dignity, and our ownership. Not here to talk about all the problems, because you already know how to, you will first, you know how to talk about that. I'm here to talk about hope. How do I contribute to the survival and the flourishing of what's left of me? I am Otoko, from Micronesia/Polynesia, from Pohnpei, Chuk, and Nuoro. I'm going to speak from my canoe, not from the office. And my canoe, the wa, we call it wa seres, wa fatun. The other half of me say waka. The wa is actually the vein that carries or allows the flow of life, blood. So wa seres is when you're able to sail your canoe. Wa fatun is the canoe you just paddle. Waka is just a vessel made of tree to carry life from the Creator via the ocean, called Moananui. Anyway, so I listen to you coin words. Sometimes I don't understand. But I know from the ocean, we have ocean waves. I've been adopted by a chief of the Hopi tribe as a son. So where that Hopi tribe of people live, I am introduced to heat waves from the land versus ocean. And here I'm introduced to brain waves. And sometimes I'm lost. I feel like I'm in a microwave. I just wish that the discussion about the people that I represent, the faceless, the voiceless, the nameless, from tiny islands, don't get lost in the dialogue of indigenous rights. Who doesn't know indigenous rights? It's the dominants who came and saw, they liked, they took because they could. not because it's right. You need to educate them about indigenous rights. We know our rights. We never stole someone's land. When I go to a village, I have to protocol the chiefs and the elders. Otherwise, kill them and take their land. Even in killing them, it's honor. It's acknowledging it's not my land. And I want to take it. When I was in Hawaii, is that it? Finished? When I came to Hawaii and an elder came and threw a newspaper in front of me in a meeting. And in the paper said a Micronesian, a Chuukese stabbed and killed another Chuukese, a cousin, in Hawaii. And he wanted me to explain why we, the cousins of the Hawaiian stewards of Hawaii's water and land and sky, why we didn't come with honor to our cousin's house. I asked the gentleman to give me time. It took 2 years before I could come back with a lot of our elders to answer his question. 2 years later, in Hilo, finally came to answer the old man's question. And this is what I said. It's now on a t-shirt. They're selling them at UH Manoa. I said, once we were the masters of our Creator's the masters of the currents of our Creator's ocean. Now, we're the slaves of the currency of the USA. And so you're just innocent victims on the way. We're running to where it comes from, and we forgot to respect you. You've done us no wrong. We just forgot who we are and what was entrusted to us to steward. Our identity, our stewardship, our dignity, which includes yours. And so from the waka, from the wa, I stand here and I represent the people who were never seen and heard, named in meetings like this. And yet I have hope. I want to thank you, those who put this together, because I got to know others. It's about relationship. From the islands, we have these 3 world views, actually connected to 7 winds that we know of. It's the view from the sea, the one from above, and one from the land. And when we meet like this and we avoid mentioning our Creator, I feel left out, because that's something a native is never embarrassed to point out. When someone gets hurt, we laugh first, because we're admitting there are powers beyond us, and then we jump and help. It's not laughing at them, it's admitting there are things beyond us. And there are those views, but the winds that we need to know again and feel again. The wind from the north, the wind from the south, the wind from the east, and the wind from the west, the wind from below, the wind from above, and the wind from within. That's what's missing in these discussions where we get lost with brainwaves and no relationship with the wholeness of humanity and creation and their maker. And those are the moments I feel kind of left out. I'm so proud and happy to have one of our sons, Julian. I think it's time for me to fade away and have him take his rightful place. Yeah, and Carmen, and Hitorangi, and the rest who are young. This is something that I'm moved to it, coming here and see ladies allow their place on our canoe. And the young generation allow their place. I wish there were more children here. If it's a matter of mindset game, why don't we start young to involve our kids to know who they are? involve our kids, so we don't need to explain and write books, they just know who they are. I like to see more of them attend meetings like this. And I think it's proper time to pass that. This is one of my sons. Just taller than me, but not older. I don't know about the weight, who's heavier, but that's okay. Now, before we sing a song, I'd like to say, maybe he has something to say, but before he says that, we have two people's time, So let me say this. He has to stand with me, because he might stone me when I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I have an uncle who's 93 years old, still alive and farming, doesn't like to eat processed food. He climbs the mountains, come down and go walk the village to see all his great-grandchildren. He's waiting for me to come home and tell him what I learned from here. But when asked what globalization did to him, what colonization did to him, by the way, colonization includes globalization in our minds from the sea, no difference. Just modern way of colonizing. Still the dominant making the calls and the shots in globalization, not the small guys. And so they asked to tell the story what happened during the Japanese time when the two bullies were fighting and the innocent were the victims, us. It used to be between USSR and the West, so Atlantic became hot commodity waters. Now it's between China and the West, we are again the victims. In our own backyard, in our own house. So here they asked him to tell the stories, but you know, our values, so he pulled down his pants to show where the bullet hit in front of public. They were televising and telling the story of how the word that he had nothing to do with hurt him, so he pulled down his pants in public to show. So be careful asking a native to tell his story. We're not ashamed of what God gave us. Just good. You gave us the clothes we now wear. Don't tell us to come native. You might take us to church. So, this is what globalization means to my uncle. Global lies, global ice-cold hearts, global eyes, greedy eyes. I come, I see, I take. And also global I, many eyes, me, no longer us. This is what my uncle thinks of globalization. Maybe he's right. But occasions like this give me hope. I go tell him a story that I met a Japanese, I met a Filipino, I met a dinner daughter, and I met this son coming all the way from Maori. So, before we sing.
Ka tū ki runga, ka tū ki raro, ka tū ki hea. Tēnei te whenua, te rū nei, te tangi nei mo aku haraka nui e ke ki hea, e ke ki hea, e ke ki runga ki ai ano te tukunga I o ko rangi, ko papa, ko tāne mahuta I tokona I te rangi iri o ki rungara. Ko ia ko hine kino I hui ai te tangata ki te ao whakarere ki whakarere kōrero. Ko ia ko Maui mua, ko Maui pai, ko Maui roto, ko Maui taha, ko Maui tiki ara tarangi here ai te rā I rio ki rungara. Nā tāne I whiu ai tō tupuna ki raro he ngati he wa mauri ora. I just wanted to say, I'm grateful for everything that's been brought here. Our sister that talked about the basket and the knowledge that we share as Indigenous people. What we're going to take back to Aotearoa is what we came with. The saddest thing to hear was people talking about New Zealand supporting globalization, privatization. You know, it's really hurtful for me. I like them to talk about rugby, the All Blacks. I feel proud. But I just want to thank all of those that made it possible for us to be a victor. Thank you, brother. I'm here because to support my brothers from the furthest part, geographically removed from me, ancestrally, from Rapa Nui. And our brothers that cover the whole of Moana Nui. This short time, Paul asked me if I'd say what Moana Nui means to us. It's our language. Our sisters from Tonga, the south. Tonga Tapu, sacred south. And I just wanted to say that the moana to us is our mother. It's our mother. The water we call is the kiri waiwai o papatuanuku. It's the skin of our mother. Our mother feeds us. Ana is a container. And that's what the sea is to us. It feeds us. Under the sea, under the water is our mother. And what I said was an ancient prayer that we teach our children now. And what we were saying there, our people were prophets, not people who made a prophet. We were led to inhabit these isles, these paradises, for a reason. So that time would come, we'd be able to reorientate our other brothers and sisters about who we are and our relationship to Atua, to God. We don't have a problem with God. Those that came to us had a problem. So I just want to share our waka to us, which has carried us all here. The front of our waka, we call it different things. The birdman. Tangata manu sits at the front of our canoe, because that's our lineage from God to the firstborn. He sits at the front of our canoe and he bridges us to all the other islands of the Pacific. So we know our lineage back to the firstborn. Honua is what we call the deep ocean. Honua goes back to our genealogies you'll find throughout the Pacific, to our first parents. Kumu Kumu Honua and Lalo Honua. To ancestors that are two, a man and a woman. The sky, the heavens, rangi, is the physical manifestation of our Heavenly Father. Our earth is our mother, physical manifestation of our mother. So we know who we are. So we want you all to know what Moana Nui means to us. Kia ora tātou. Kia ora. We wrote this song about an hour ago.
The song was written by a son from Hawaii, a brother from Hawaii, about 11 years ago. Kavika Kahiapo. And he only wrote the first stanza and the chorus. We just put in the second and the second chorus. So this is from all of us to all of you. The ocean is one. You can find the connection between all oceans. It's just us who decided to divide it. Can you hold that? Yeah. So we're gonna sing this because it includes every living creature, not just us human beings. As the nations of the world come in to sing their song to you, you receive him with your outstretched arms and you tell them, I love you. The mountains and the seas join in, a voice cries from the land, for the life of every living thing, oh Lord, is in your hands. From north to south, east and west, they've come to heed your call. And as they dance their dance you've given them, may your awesome glory fall. May your awesome glory fall. May your awesome, awesome glory fall. Here is where we come in as part of the world from the ocean. As the peoples of you walk a sailing to dance our dance for you. You honey us with your spirit of love, and you abasang tongin. The islands and the deep speak it, the winds and stars agree. Our Maker loves redeeming us, His peoples from the sea. I'm gonna sing this again. As the peoples of you walk us sailing to dance our dance for you. You honey us all, spirit of life, o apasangang tongin. The islands and the deep speak it, the winds and stars agree. Our Maker loves redeeming us, His peoples from the sea. From north to south, east and west, we've come to heed your call. And as we dance our dance you've given us, may your awesome glory fall. Oh, may your manna of glory fall. Oh, may your manna of manna fall. Do it right. May your manna. From north to south, east and west, we come to heed your call. And as we dance our dance you've given us, may your manna fall on us. Manna. Oh, may your manna fall on us. Oh, may your manna fall on us. So, one more. From north to south, east and west, we've come to heed your call. And as we dance our dance you've given us, may your manna fall on us. Oh, may your manna fall on us. Oh, may your manna fall on